Wednesday, June 26. This is the news on PBCJ. I am Simone Absalom. The latest TripAdvisor rankings has placed Jamaica as the #1 Caribbean destination and the 14th best destination in the world. And Tourism Minister Ed Bartlett is hailing this as a huge vote of confidence in the country, stating that the rankings reflect the quality of the workers and operators of tourism entities. Bartlett also said they have implications for investment. He's quoted saying, "When capital is seeking a home, it goes to where it is likely to get the best return. The likelihood of them having a good return on their investment will enable them to choose Jamaica," end quote. Bartlett's comments came against the background of the social travel website's rankings being highlighted in a feature by expert travel writer Debbie Kickham on the online edition of Forbes magazine. Kickham, in her article published on June 21, stated that after a week-long visit to Jamaica, she was happy to report that the island is filled with alluring charm. Jamaica has consistently enjoyed high rankings on the website, and yesterday Bartlett argued that the current designations are in line with his ministry's tourism growth trajectory. Jamaica's imports increased by 13.1% during January to March 2019. The Statistical Institute of Jamaica, Statin, is reporting in its quarterly report for the period January to March 2019, Jamaica's imports were valued at US $1.66 billion, a 13.1% increase when compared to the corresponding period for 2018, with a value of $1.47 billion US. Imports from the United States of America, Jamaica's main trading partner, were valued at $790.5 million US, a 32.4% jump when compared to the similar period in 2018. Exports to the USA earned $163.6 million, an increase of 11.7%. Since the start of the year, oil prices on the world market have gone up by approximately 21.64%. There was, however, a decrease in agriculture due to low exports of coffee and citrus. Coffee earned $0.9 million, while citrus accounted for $0.3 million US. Jamaica retained its Tier 2 ranking in the United States Department's 2019 Trafficking in Persons report, but has been chided for not being aggressive enough in prosecuting offenders and protecting victims. Kingston was praised for increased expenditure on the fight against human trafficking, but the United States questioned the government's commitment to eliminating the scourge. The National Task Force Against Trafficking in Persons was allocated $33.4 million in the 2018-2019 fiscal year, a dip from the $34.8 million the previous year, but reported spending $73 million in anti-trafficking activities during the period. However, the report cited structural and other deficiencies for accounting for what it termed token success. Jamaican authorities reported investigating 36 trafficking cases, a 20% rise over the previous year, and prosecuted 6 defendants, 3 more than in the 2017-2018 period. But the fact that 9 prosecutions from previous years remained ongoing was a source of concern for the United States Department of State, which criticized the Jamaican justice system as too slow in completing cases. Foreign Affairs Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith has admitted that more could have been done to get updates on 5 Jamaican fishermen in 2017, after the government issued a waiver of jurisdiction to the United States Coast Guard to transport the men to that country to be prosecuted on marijuana-related offenses. She's quoted saying, "I think we can do more, and that is the commitment that I give for us to review the processes robustly and in a focused way, and I'm not just saying it for a press conference," end quote. The American Civil Liberties Union filed a lawsuit in the U.S. 2 weeks ago on behalf of 4 of the 5 fishermen, Robert Weir, Patrick Ferguson, Luther Patterson, and David Williams, who said they were captured by the U.S. Coast Guard, stripped naked, given white paper-thin overalls and disposable slippers to wear instead, and subsequently chained by their ankles to metal cables. The fifth fisherman, George Thompson, is expected to join the suit. Since the allegations surfaced, there have been calls for a review of the Ship-Rider Agreement, a 1997 deal between the two countries, under which Jamaica waived its jurisdictional rights for the men's prosecution in the U.S. Johnson Smith said a delegation from the U.S. would soon arrive in the island for talks, and that she would be seeking to ensure that the necessary checks and balances are in place to preserve the rights of Jamaican nationals detained on the high seas. June has been a particularly bloody month, with almost 100 murders recorded across the island in the first 22 days of this month. The increase of murders led to a heated clash between parliamentarians in the House of Representatives on Tuesday. It started when Leader of Opposition Business in the House and MP for Kingston Eastern and Port Royal, Philip Polwell, made an appeal for more resources for the police to control the high level of shooting and murders occurring in his constituency.
I must bring to this House's attention what I regard now as acts of terror that exist in my constituency. The formal reports, Mr. Speaker, reveal that the incidence of murder has risen by 33% since the start of this year, and that the incidence of shootings that has increased by 450%. I also have to ask for special attention, because recently the police advised me that they aren't able to do the active community policing because many of the persons inside there now, they don't know they are people who have migrated from as far as Montego Bay and are creating havoc in my constituency.
His words prompted this response from Southwestern St. Catherine MP Everett Warmington.
That constituency doesn't have a political division, a divide, whereby you could say that is a GLP fighting the PMP. That constituency is controlled totally by one party. It's a party that has not ever been won except in 1980 by a GLP member, a candidate. So it means that if you look at the voting pattern of the constituency, it is total PNP. Therefore, what you have is PMP fighting PMP. And with a PMP member of parliament, you should control it.
I must control it. Utter nonsense.
There are no GLP gang in that constituency. They're all PMP gangs. So what I'm saying here, we should never allow the creation of any gang from one party to the other, particularly when the seat is controlled by one party. Should never encouraged and allow gangs to be developed.
On a point of order, Mr. Speaker.
However, Mr. Polwell and opposition spokesman on national security Fitz Jackson took exception to these comments.
And I take very strong exception to the member misleading the parliament about how gangs are formed and who husband them. I can say without any fear of contradiction that I never and would never support political gangs of any kind in my constituency.
I want to outrightly reject the assertions by the member from Southwest St. Catherine. It is unfortunate. Mr. Speaker, the police report tells you that most of the murders in Jamaica are being committed by gangs. The highest crime area in Jamaica has been Montego Bay. Is he asserting that the members of parliament in that parish is responsible for the gangs that are committing the murders in that constituency? That is the inference he's making. It's irresponsible, Mr. Speaker, and he should withdraw that remark. Mr. Speaker.
Members.
Criminals must be treated as criminals, regardless of whichever political party that they may give support to.
There is no gang in Southwest St. Catherine because I've never encouraged it. There has never been a gang in Southwest St. Catherine. We can never encourage it. The problem is that people encourage gang to fester and develop. And it's an asset to them during election. And after election, when they turn loose, they make noise about it. What needs to be done is that all persons, whether they are member of parliament, whoever you are, turn in the gang and the gang members. Because most of you know who the gang members are. So turn them in. And don't ask Parliament to help you after you use them during election and after that.
National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang was forced to intervene to assuage concerns that efforts are being made to stem the upsurge in crime.
We are taking steps to ensure that the police is fully resourced, but even with full resources in any 1 year, it takes a lot of time for that to get through the system. I just want to assure the member we are aware of the challenges he faces there, as well as other areas that are faced with serious challenges. We are fully aware. The Commissioner is making some operational changes, but we are looking at what can be done both in his area and in the two members onto my right from the corporate area, where the current spate of crime has really gone way above what is any kind of tolerable levels nationally, Clarendon and the corporate area.
The Ministry of Education, Youth and Information will increase funding for primary, all-age and junior high schools to $7.98 billion for academic year 2019-2020. This is in keeping with its non-mandatory fee policy, which commenced on September 2016. In a recent bulletin, the ministry informed that all infant departments and primary level schools will receive $2,500 per student, and all age and junior high schools will receive up to $19,000 per student. Also to be provided is a maintenance grant of $150,000 per school, along with the janitorial grant of $250,000. Internet telephone grant of $60,000. Students who benefit from the Program of Advancement through Health and Education PATH will receive literature books, while $2,000 will be allocated to cover identification and uniform-related items. Book vouchers, valued at $2,000 each, will be provided for the neediest students. The ministry will continue to pay the insurance for students on PATH and wards of the state at all levels. The National Executive Council is recommending that the People's National Party leadership race be held in September. Dr. Phillips and his camp had been hoping for an early runoff with a proposed period of late July. PNP General Secretary Julian Robinson said that the proposed date for the election of President and Vice President is September 7, with nomination expected to be between July 22 and 26. The dates are subject to ratification by the NEC, the most powerful body in the PNP outside of a conference. An investigating officer from the Major Organized Crime and Anti-Corruption Agency yesterday revealed that a 2016 raid at the home of Sanjay Elliott, one of the accused in the $400 million Manchester Municipal Corporation fraud trial, turned up several checks, payment vouchers and invoices. The Mocha officer was giving testimony yesterday in the Manchester Parish Court about the Mocha Financial Investigations Division raids as they probed irregularities at the then-named Manchester Parish Council. The witness said that after receiving a search warrant and having been allowed access to the premises, Elliott, the former Deputy Superintendent of Road and Works at the local authority, informed him that he shared the Dalys Grove home with his wife and gardener, who have both been charged on the matter. The defense counsel then began to highlight inconsistencies with the evidence presented by the witness. The officer had stated that he could not recall there being any stubs on the checks found in the raid, but the ones in evidence did, in fact, have stubs. The defense then cautioned the prosecution to be true to the evidence and not sanitize it. The matter will continue on Monday, July 8, in the Manchester Parish Court. The public is being reminded that excessive heat stress is harmful to health and is potentially fatal. This year, extremely high temperatures are being recorded, and the Ministry of Health and Wellness has advised precautionary measures to reduce exposure to heat and limit the serious effects it can have on the body. Signs associated with a heat stroke include a very high body temperature, above 103 degrees Fahrenheit, hot and dry skin, a throbbing headache, and dizziness. Other signs include altered mental state or behavior, nausea, vomiting, flushed skin, rapid breathing, and a racing heart rate. Extreme heat stress may also trigger decompensation in some medical conditions, such as diabetes and hypertension. Some persons are also at greater risk of being affected by heat. In order to prevent illness associated with the heat, members of the public are encouraged to hydrate with cool water, especially when it is hot and humid. Drink more fluids. Limit or avoid sugar-sweetened drinks and beverages that contain alcohol. Drink more water than normal. During and after vigorous activities, at least 15 minutes before, and take fluid breaks at least every 15 minutes. Exercise indoors where possible. Drink more water than normal if one is exposed to heat for long periods, greater than 2 hours. Avoid the sun during the middle of the day by limiting as much as possible outdoor activities to mornings and evenings, and seeking out shade when outdoors. Wearing lightweight, light-colored, loose-fitting clothes made of breathable fabrics. The public is also advised to avoid crowded locations and ensure that their homes are well ventilated. In regional news, retired Justice James Patterson has tendered his resignation from the post of chairman of the Guyana Elections Commission, GECOM. This comes a week after the Caribbean Court of Justice ruled that his appointment was flawed and thereby unconstitutional. His resignation took effect on Monday, June 24, 2019. Patterson met with President David Granger Tuesday morning, who thanked him for his service over the past 20 months. Meanwhile, the Ministry of the Presidency, in a release, has since listed the post as vacant. Justice Patterson was appointed as GECOM chair in October 2017 by President Granger, who believed Patterson to be someone with no political affiliation, who possesses the general characteristics of honesty, integrity, faithfulness, and diligence. In the meantime, GECOM now says that a general election would not be possible until after Christmas. This revelation was made on Monday as arguments were being submitted before the Caribbean Court of Justice. We get more in this report from Source Guyana.
Opposition wants elections to be held within 3 months. However, GECOM's attorney Stanley Marcus explained that the earliest date for the list to be ready would be Christmas Day, and the elections could be held anytime after that.
He's asking for an outside date.
An outside date?
Yes.
From my consultations, putting everything into place and complying with all the provisions that are necessary, a list would be ready by the 25th of December. December 25.
So
elections to be held any time after that.
That's a rather unique date, December 25th.
December 25th.
Yes. So you're hoping to provide a Merry Christmas to the electorate of Guyana?
Mr. Marcus, this is disappointing because, as Mr. Mendes says, the Constitution suggests that these elections should have been held sometime in March.
The judges of the CCJ quizzed Mr. Marcus about whether that would not fall outside of the constitutional requirements for elections to be held within 3 months. The attorney reminded them that the Constitution also caters for elections to be held at a later date, after the 3 months once it has been approved by the National Assembly.
We're not involved in politics. Our remit is to uphold this document.
Yes, Lord.
And if it has a clear provision, then what do you want us to do? To ignore it? To reject it? To rewrite it?
No, my Lord, but I ask you to give effect to what it says. That same provision contemplates, the framers contemplated that there would be a situation where, though 3 months has been stated, there will not be, for what reason or other, compliance. And it goes on to say,
where is that?
Would you permit me? It goes on to say, in such circumstances then, when there is no compliance with the 3-month period, well then the time may be extended by the National Assembly.
Mr. Marcus told the CCJ that one has to take into account that there are several other systems that have to be put in place before the elections are held. And he believes that the framers of the Constitution would have contemplated that by inserting that the National Assembly could approve an extension.
Despite the announcement by GCOM, opposition leader Brat Jagdeo says he will not agree to extend the deadline by which general elections should be held. Mr. Jagdeo said he will meet with President Granger to discuss the political situation, but he maintains that he will not compromise on the fact that elections must be held 3 months of the passage of a no-confidence vote against the government.
We've been living on borrowed time in government because of the delaying tactics. So effectively, they've had a 6 months grace so far, and we are not going to tolerate any continued violation of the Constitution. So we will insist on elections being held within 3 months, consistent with our Constitution. And when I meet with President Granger, that is a non-negotiable. What is also non-negotiable too is us going back to Parliament to extend the life of this government. That's non-negotiable.
On Tuesday, the United Nations Security Council approved a resolution establishing a political mission in Haiti, promoting political stability and rule of law in that country. This mission will replace the U.S. Mission for Justice Support in Haiti. Acting U.S. Ambassador Jonathan Cohen called the passage of the latest resolution a historic moment.
The successful transition will depend in large part on the Haitian government's assumption of responsibility for the range of issues the Security Council is mandating BNU to support. This includes free and fair elections, the continued professionalization of the Haitian National Police, the reduction of community and gang violence, the protection of human rights, improvements to prison facilities and detainee treatment, and justice sector reform. A successful transition will also depend on close coordination among the many stakeholders invested in Haiti's success, including, but not limited to, UN entities, Security Council members, local and international partners, the Haitian-based diplomatic corps, and the humanitarian assistance community.
In sports, we're on the pitch with cricket, as legendary West Indies cricketer Clive Lloyd has questioned the balance of the Windies squad currently at the Cricket World Cup.
West Indies have won just one game in 6 outings and lie 8th in the 10-nation standings on 3 points with virtually no chance of finishing in the top 4 to reach the semi-finals. Lloyd said the lack of an off-spinning all-rounder like Roston Chase and more batsmen with the abilities of Shea Hope had hampered the Windies' performance. West Indies have failed to spark during their World Cup campaign despite boasting the likes of batsman Chris Gayle, Darren Bravo and Hope, along with all-rounders Andrew Russell and Jason Holder. They dominated Pakistan in their opener but have since faltered badly, losing 4 of their next 5 matches. Frustratingly, they found themselves in winning positions against Australia, Bangladesh and New Zealand but squandered all 3 opportunities. Lloyd said these missed chances pointed to the team's lack of awareness of what was required to win match.
And that's the news. Thanks so much for making it PBCJ. Remember, we are the People's Station.